You are now tuned in to the GNWY podcast.
What's going on, everybody? Thank you so much for tuning in to this episode of the GNWY podcast. Do not forget to like, rate, review, subscribe, do all the things so we can be able to get people's stories out more effectively. And today we have none other than the Free Mom Hugs curator herself, Sara Cunningham. Everybody make some noise one time for Sara, if you can. Thank you so much. And we appreciate you coming through.
Thank you for the invitation. Do I see a cheer button on there?
Oh yeah, you
Can I hear that?
hit that for us. And they'll hear that.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Yeah,
Cheering
I'm
for you.
I'm cheering to be here. I'm excited. I appreciate any opportunity to just work together with an organization of like minds and
Yeah,
just try to make the world a better place.
definitely, and we appreciate your time. So I mean, everybody probably knows. I've heard of Free Mom Hugs. There's people that told me about Free Mom Hugs, and I'm like, this is such a great organization and concept, and we just sort of like, I want to learn more about it. Mm-hmm. And so we appreciate you coming through. And if you want to give just a brief rundown on who Sara is, just without Free Mom Hugs, and then we'll get into Free Mom Hugs.
Free Mom Hugs.
Yes.
Well, my name is Sara Cunningham, and I got to be politically correct here and use my pronouns or she, her, hers.
Yeah.
And that's a habit that I'm trying to get into on a personal and professional level.
Yeah.
So, but I was born and raised in Oklahoma. And there was a time that I would beg my mother, please don't let me be buried in Oklahoma because I thought it was boring.
Yeah.
But now I couldn't imagine living anywhere else.
Yeah.
People are friendly. The cost of living is, doable.
Right.
I've met some amazing people doing some amazing work like yourself.
Yeah, definitely. So you grew up in Oklahoma, yeah?
Mm-hmm.
And what was your favorite thing to do whenever you were a kid?
Oh, I ran amok in the neighborhood.
Okay, you causing some trouble?
Yeah, I have 4
Yeah.
siblings.
Okay.
And,
what number are you within the 4?
I'm the baby. Spoiled rotten. Got everything I wanted.
There you go.
But I'm the youngest. But I have a twin brother.
Really?
But
Okay.
we grew up in a day when you had to be home by 10.
Yeah.
And the neighborhood was ours. From hide and seek to dodgeball to neighborhood pool.
Yeah.
We just did it all, and it was just looking back. And today I have 2 children. And when they were growing up, there's no way I would have let them run amok like I did.
Right, of course. It's crazy how times have changed. Mm-hmm. Yes. I've got a 4-year-old, and I could not imagine that either. So, yeah.
I used to walk to 7-Eleven all the time.
Right.
Icy.
Of course, yes.
Yeah.
What's your favorite icy?
I love to mix Coke and cherry.
Ooh, cherry Coke. Okay,
Yeah.
that's good. That sounds good. Yes. So getting into, it sounds like you've been all over the nation, have you been all over the world? Yes, I guess.
Not yet. I have been abroad, but not everywhere yet.
Yeah. Excellent. And then, so, getting into this amazing organization, Free Mom Hugs. And so I'm saying that correctly. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Perfect. And, what started this whole, concept with, Free Mom Hugs?
Mm-hmm. Well, it all started, when, my youngest son came out gay.
Yeah.
And he tried to have the conversation his whole life, but I didn't handle it well at all. I behaved badly.
Yeah.
And it took some time, but once he came out of his closet, I went into mine, and I had to re-examine everything that I believed.
Yeah.
And I came to the conclusion that being gay is not wrong.
Yeah.
And that my son's not broken, and that he's a gift to my family, to me, to the world around us. And through that, meeting the gay community and standing at a Pride Festival in 2014 with my son and just meeting this beautiful, spirit-filled community.
Yeah.
And then in 2015, I made a homemade button that said Free Mom Hugs.
Yeah.
And I went to a Pride Festival, and with anyone who made eye contact with me, I would say, could I offer you a free mom hug?
Oh, my goodness.
And from that experience started the nonprofit.
Yeah, that's beautiful. So, what was the free button or the first button? I gotta know that.
Yeah, I wish I would have brought it with me.
Yeah.
I have one in the car, but I have the original button still.
Yeah.
But how it came about, it's not like I just woke up that morning and thought, I'm going to offer free hugs.
Yeah.
But through my son's coming out and that journey that it took our family on, I started meeting his friends
Mm.
and members of the community
Yeah.
and hearing their stories about how they had been alienated from their church homes, from their families, from many parts of society. And
Yeah.
so through that, that's when I knew that just the physical presence of that loving presence of a mother in the life of those who are going through this very difficult time.
Yeah.
So that's what prompted the hugs.
Yeah. Yeah. Excellent. What gave you the idea of just showing up and giving a hug? What was the first idea to do that?
I knew I wanted to be a part of that day, but I really didn't have a reason to be there. It wasn't like I was volunteering
Yeah.
or, working with a Pride Festival.
Yeah.
It was a festival. So anyway, I just thought I wanted to go there, but I wanted to be present there.
Right. Right.
And so I just pinned the button to my sundress, and I stood. I know exactly the space that I stood in.
Was this here in Oklahoma?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, right down
Yeah.
on 39th Street.
Okay. Awesome.
And I just thought I would spend, a little bit of time, but I ended up staying the whole day.
Yeah.
And it was a pivotal moment in my life. And I went home that day covered from head to toe with glitter.
Yeah.
But I went home that day accountable to what I was hearing. And I share this all the time, but the first hug that I gave was to a beautiful young woman who said it had been 4 years since she got a hug from her mother.
Oh, wow.
Because she's a lesbian.
Wow.
And I just held her tight, and I whispered in her ear that I'm a mom, and here's a hug, and I'm not letting go until you do. And I didn't.
Wow.
And throughout that day, I just heard just really hard stories about families being blown apart and devastated and just alienated from each other.
Yeah.
And the thing that I hear most, not only that day, but throughout this journey with Free Mom Hugs, is that the community at large has lost their sense of belonging. And if I could just skip ahead, but when I think about what you do here, with what you do with the kids,
Yeah.
is that those who've been bullied or just kind of overlooked, or whatever it is that might make them feel separated or less than,
Yeah.
that's a sense of belonging.
Yeah.
And we all need that.
Yeah. Definitely. Yeah, that's something that I think that whenever we first started Generation Y, that's actually something that we collectively as a team we were talking about, is that because even whenever we first started in 2017, Oklahoma went from 32nd to the third leading nation in the state, or in the third leading state in the nation for suicidal ideations with the teens. And so whenever we saw that, we were like, there's got to be a sense of, or a lack of identity and purpose. And so we had that type of empathy for these students, and we were like, somebody's got to step in and do something, And so yeah, we wanted to create a safe environment, but a environment that these students felt connected with. And so yeah, I think that safe space is what a lot of people are looking for. And they probably find that safe space whenever you, Sarah, go out and give hugs. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, yeah. It's definitely, we call it in the Free Mom Hugs movement, a spark. And it's the hug, the first hug. And whether you're the giver or the receiver, and not everybody's a hugger. Sometimes we just acknowledge each other and say, I see you, I love you, I'm so glad that you're here, I hope you enjoy the day with your friends. Yeah. And we're cheering you on. Yeah. Or just acknowledgement. And when you were talking earlier, you mentioned a sense of purpose and identity. Yeah. Well, how do you give those things? Yes. And I recently heard a mother, excuse me.
You're good.
I recently heard a mother share about their transgender child, is that they realized through the journey is that the real way to love somebody is to ask them, what do you need from me so that you feel loved?
Yeah, yeah.
And when we can offer that space, that vocabulary, that attention, that's life.
Yeah, that's beautiful. And I think that even something that I've said in another podcast before was, I think the deepest form of love is understanding. Because if you could truly know somebody and understand where they come from, why they're at where they are, and then where they're going, then you can truly love them, right? And so meeting them where they're at. And so with you creating this whole organization, I feel like you're like the epitome of meeting somebody where they're at. And so we really appreciate what you do.
Thank you.
Yeah, definitely. So as Free Mob Hugs grows and everything like that, what's been some of the challenges that you've ran into, or any of the things that you've had to overcome, with this organization and everything like that?
Yeah.
Personally and professionally.
Yeah, you see that I'm getting emotional because at the time of this conversation, we're just getting over a horrific tragedy out of Colorado, where a young man opened fire into a gay nightclub.
Oh,
and
wow.
5 people were killed, many more were injured.
Yeah.
And it's reminiscent of what happened in Orlando at the Pulse nightclub. So you have a whole community being rocked to their very core.
Yeah.
And my son said it best yesterday. He said, we have people asking, where can we go? Where can we go?
Yeah.
And personally, that's every mother's nightmare, but especially every mother with a gay kid. It's worst nightmare.
Yeah.
It's devastating. And just when I think we're making progress, something like this just kind of takes your breath, just knocks the breath right out of you. And you think sometimes how the world continues to turn sometimes is beyond me.
Yeah.
And so you have that heartache and that anger and that frustration and that fear. But you have to have hope in conversations like this.
Yeah.
Because without it, why bother?
Yeah, definitely.
I'm sure you just have setbacks where you think you've taken 2 steps forward and then something just knocks the wind right out of you. Like, what are we doing?
Yeah, for sure. 100%. Do we have any Kleenexes?
I got some.
Sorry,
I'm
I just
sorry.
want to be prepared. You're good. You're good. Yeah, I mean, you're definitely right. I mean, especially in the past, I would say 5 to 6 years, just even this conversation of mental health has grown so much. And so whenever we started out just being, advocates toward, anti-bullying or suicide prevention, mental health and everything. And as this whole thing grew into, what it is now, and then also the conversation got so much more complex as well. And so because people have such a hard time talking about, mental health, and I've always wondered why that was, because I grew up with a mom that she talked to me all the time, Sara, and asked me all the time, every day to school or every day from school to home, what are you thinking? How are you feeling? How was your day? And all this kind of stuff. And I just feel, students and people need those questions, those hard questions, even if you have a hard day. And it's like there's a lot of people that are missing that. And so but even the conversation of mental health is, like I was saying, becoming so complex. And so is there anything that Free Mom Hugs even offers in like the mental health realm of stuff?
Well, that's a excellent question, because one thing that we stress among our chapter leaders and volunteers, we have chapters in every state now, and we're working towards going international.
That's amazing.
But
congratulations, by the way. Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah.
But what we have to remind ourselves is that we are not mental health providers.
Right.
We can be that loving presence, and as much as we want to help, there's only so much that we can do.
Yeah.
And there's a huge need within the community that goes beyond our scope as a nonprofit. Even what we can do, I wish we could, but the reality is we are not mental health providers.
Yeah.
And so we do equip our chapter leaders to be able to make sure that we have the resources necessary so that when people do come to us, and they do, that we can help them get help that they need.
Yeah, that's
so I think that's the main thing, is to have a plan, to be available. You want to be approachable, but you got to have a plan.
Right.
Because if you're in a crisis situation with someone, you need someone who knows what they're doing.
Yeah.
So even in your way, you can give the people that you're talking to, the students, tools.
Yeah.
But unless I don't know if you're a certified mental health provider.
Not yet. We're working on that. Yeah.
Yes, I think that's great. But you need to have the tools.
Yeah, definitely.
And I think a lot of can be avoided a lot before. It's like you heard the phrase like getting people out of the river. We got to find out what's throwing them in the river first. See, and just try to combat that.
Yeah, that's real. That's real. Even because I'm even interested on just what the organization does. So like, are you guys, do you throw your own events, or like what does it look like within like a regular day of Free Mom Hugs?
Well, the only requirement that we have of a chapter, well, first of all, we need to make it very clear that Free Mom Hugs is fully affirming. And the difference between affirming and non-affirming, you may be aware, but affirming is that we honor same-sex marriage and we celebrate the community.
Yeah.
And non-affirming will limit let me rephrase that. I'm sure you'll edit this out, but the first thing that we require at Free Mom Hugs is that you're fully affirming. And that means that you celebrate the community and that you honor same-gender marriage.
Yeah.
Anything less than that is non-affirming.
Yeah.
And that you show up at a Pride Festival.
Yeah.
That's the only thing we require. But more times than not, our chapter leaders and their volunteers will show up at a Pride Festival, and then they'll start either making events of their own as they see a need, like maybe a clothing closet or a transgender Valentine's banquet, or they'll collaborate with organizations like Second Chance Prom. So we collaborate and we organize our own projects as needed. Like, for example, what California needs is going to be different than what Arkansas needs.
Right. Of course.
But there's something going on. We have programs within every chapter, whether it's a national pride ride, banquet, clothing closet, care packages, card campaign.
Yeah.
The beautiful thing about Free Mom Hugs is that, Jordan, nobody really knows what it looks like. But that's the beautiful thing about being that loving presence, because if you see a need and you can help that, then that's your call.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
To give it.
This just creating that sense of safety is huge for everybody, and that's what, even with our events that we throw for these kids, we've even seen so many schools that are starting different groups like that, whether it's the LGBTQ or transgender communities
So
within
important.
the schools. And then there was this one, I was trying to remember what school it was, but there was this there's probably like a group of 10 or 12 of them. They came up to us and they're just so jazzed about it. They're like, we love what you do. We connect so much with y'all. And we feel like outsiders sometimes and all that kind of thing. And then we were like, well, this is what it looks like, for a diverse group to come together despite our differences, and we're able to be unified for purpose. And there's this one girl started crying and she was like, we love everything that y'all do, and we just feel safe with y'all. And I was like, oh, that's what we're here for,
That's a win.
Yeah, definitely.
That's a win-win for them and you.
Right. And so we felt like Free Mom Hugs, our whole team hugged them, and we were like, we're here for you, we kind of felt like, their voice without them being able to speak, I guess, and so do you feel like that, being an advocate on that side of things, like you're able to be a voice for people like that?
Yeah, part of being an ally is using your voice, being visible and vocal.
Yeah.
And we're accountable to what we know. But we also have to remember to provide that space for example, members of the community. For example, I went to a transgender Day of Remembrance on Sunday night.
Yeah.
If you're familiar, that's a national recognized day to educate and bring awareness to what it means to be transgender and those who've been victim to hate crimes and are no longer with us. So we honor them. But the whole event was surrounded around the transgender community, and those who were speaking were from the community. As an ally, I want to support that.
Yeah.
But you also have to provide a space. There's places that I can go that my transgender friends can't go.
Yeah, right.
And there's spaces where you can go where the marginalized may not be respected, tolerated at best, or even allowed in.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, that's very true. And I think it takes the awareness of that for people like us that can, be able to understand that, recognize it, and then be able to, like you were saying, fulfill the need and fill those spaces where we can bridge that gap.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I've told you before we started recording that I'm on a huge learning curve.
Yeah.
But what happened is that how I learned this very valuable lesson is that years ago there was a young transgender girl in a school who'd been terribly harassed by parents of the school.
Oh, wow.
It was horrible, and it made national news. It was in a small town here in Oklahoma. But all that to say, the media started reaching out to me, asking me for an interview.
Oh, wow.
And so rather than me...
How did that feel?
Well, I mean, I'm an ally.
Yeah.
I should be able to, answer the call. But by the same token, it's like, you know what? I have some transgender friends. Let's let them talk about the issue.
Definitely.
And so that's providing a space.
Yeah, that's beautiful. I think it's great to hear from the allies, but it's even more impactful to hear from the people who are going through it, right? Because we do the same thing, as well as within, because a lot of my people on our team are so diverse, racially, and so even providing an avenue, a platform, and a space for them to be able to speak on the things that they go through on a daily basis. Like they a lot of times feel like the outcast as well, and so for them to be able to speak on their perspective and their everyday life, that's something that we feel honored to be able to provide as well, and that's beautiful that you even did that as well. So that's awesome. Okay, so even going back to you said 2014 is whenever your son came out?
Yeah. It took me a couple of years. It was before that. When he turned 21 is when he met someone. Yeah. And that's when he officially came out as a gay man. Right. And that's when I had to face that reality.
Yeah. So what was y'all's world like before that, and then after, whenever that actually came out?
Hell.
Yeah.
I made it home life pretty miserable. Again, I absorbed this idea that homosexuality was wrong, and that if I accepted it or even tolerated it, that made me just as wrong as my son was. I thought, I absorbed this idea that homosexuality was condemnable. I'm a woman of faith. I believe in God.
I was just about to ask. Yeah, yeah.
Okay. I believe in the power of the Holy Spirit and the Scriptures. Yeah. And I believe that homosexuality was the ultimate of offenses. That just crossed the line, and that if my son acted upon it, or that made him not only the chiefest of sinners, but condemned to hell for eternity. So I was frozen in that fear. Yeah. And I didn't know where to look for resources. I thought I was the only mom, Christian mom, with a gay kid. Yeah. Because nobody talked about it. We didn't have gay people that were out at our church. I'm sure we had them. Yeah. But obviously Parker was there for 20 years. But nobody talked about it, right? Yeah, right. So, but I made life pretty miserable. I shamed Parker with the very best of intentions. I thought I was saving him from the depths of hell. Yeah. I prayed over him. I subject him. If he was old enough, quite frankly, I probably would have put him through conversion therapy. And I'm being very transparent here because I'm just trying to save families from going through what I did. Yeah, definitely. And let's talk about conversion therapy for a minute, if we may. Yeah. Conversion therapy is any type of therapy, practice, or prayer that would try to change a gay person into a straight person.
Mm-hmm.
It's dangerous and it's deadly and it needs to stop.
Yeah.
It's still legal, sought out, and paid for here in Oklahoma.
Mm.
And in 29 states, my son can be refused housing, health care, even thrown out of a public space because of him being gay.
Wow.
And part of the world just doesn't even know that. We think, well, we have marriage equality, so what's the deal?
Mm.
Even now, same-gender couples are at risk of having their rights taken away through their marriages. We're talking taxes, Social Security, acquirements, children, custody, adoptions. All of that is at stake.
Yeah.
And unless you're a part of the community or have someone you love who's part of the community, you really probably don't have any idea that's an issue.
Yeah. So this is a good information that people need to know. So, even going through, like, you know, you mentioned, you know, going through church for 20 years and not knowing, right? Were there any signs even maybe that were overlooked, or, you know, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I mean, I don't know how transparent you want to be, but which is totally fine.
I'm there. You look back at me right now.
Yeah. So, was there any signs even before?
Yeah.
You know, he
I laugh
coming out?
because Parker spent his whole life trying to have that conversation, but I did not allow him the space or the vocabulary to talk about it. I just thought it was a phase. But I remember when he was about 5 years old, and I write about this in the book, but he was upstairs, and he came, and we have a 2-story house, but I had some friends over. We were in the kitchen. Parker and some friends were upstairs. But he came downstairs in one of my dresses and a pair of my heels. And he danced in the kitchen until his hair was wet with sweat. Man, I've never seen that expression on his face or such joy. And that was my first inclination. But I didn't think God would give me a gay son.
Yeah.
I just prayed against it so hard.
Yeah.
But now I know that it's not a choice, that Parker is a gift from God.
Yeah.
And that it's something that I missed an entire adolescence of his life through shame. And shame really is the sin. When we shame people, when we shame ourselves even, that's the real sin. Where was I going with that? Our life. When Parker came out, I was frozen in that fear. And when he came out of his closet, I went into mine. So it was about a 2-year period of time before I found other moms like me and the resources that I need. I needed faith-based resources to help me better understand what Scripture says, which is nothing, and to better understand my son. And so I found a private online Facebook group for moms with gay kids. And we all had the same stories. Of wrestling and reconciling our faith. And you get educated on the things like the history of human sexuality, on science and evidence, and hearing from gay Christians.
Yeah, definitely. And that's something that, you know, a lot of it's not exposed as much, you know, or out there. So even coming, you know, once he came out, and you were mentioning that you went into your closet, and then you finally coming out of yours, you know, finding the resources and everything like that. Well, was there any pushback even from, you know, the church world, of you going, you know, more acceptance wise?
Yeah. It was devastating.
Yeah.
That you spend 20 years giving of your life and serving, and it was devastating in the way that we didn't know how to have that conversation. And I know the church family of that time loved my family. As we did theirs. But we did not know how to minister to each other. And relationships were alienated and lost, and it was devastating.
Yeah, definitely. And then, so from there, what was your move from there? Because that's a hard, you know, shift and shaking within your own world, right?
That's all you know. That's
right.
It's like you're in that bubble where everybody talks the same and looks the same.
Yeah.
And then when my son came out, suddenly it was like he was broken or in need of fixing. And as I got educated, then that made me just as much of a sinner. Suddenly my testimony became less. I wasn't asked for prayer or, whereas before I was in women's ministry and helping with the youth, and all of that was gone.
Yeah.
Not only for me, but for my son. Not
Right.
being allowed to camp or to work in the nursery or
Right.
all of those things.
Yeah.
That's where that sense of belonging comes from.
Yeah.
So, but again, I found that private online Facebook group,
Yeah.
and a lot of women in there were of faith, so we could just pour out our anxieties and our fears in that group rather than putting it on our children
Yeah.
and in our home.
Yeah, definitely. And then how much longer after that were you able to start working on Free Mom Talks?
It took about 2 years because I wrote the book about the journey, and I say it took us from the church to the Pride Parade without losing my faith.
That's awesome.
So it took a couple of years, and the last chapter in the book was inspired by standing at the Pride Parade with Parker and his friends. And I hope if you don't read anything in the book, at least the last chapter, because that was just a pivotal moment in my life.
Yeah.
And from that moment, I started just hanging out with the community and volunteering where I could.
Yeah.
And then the very next year, I made the homemade button. And then by then, I'm volunteering, and we have a Free Mom Hugs chapter here in Oklahoma.
Yeah.
And it's just a couple of moms who are just showing up, probably like how you did, when you first began. Maybe it was just 1, 2, or 3 of you showing up.
Yeah.
Maybe at groups. And then I started being asked to officiate weddings.
Yeah.
And that's something I had to search out too. But I started officiating same-gender weddings, and I honor them just as sacred and as holy as my own.
Yeah.
And hearing about how families were refusing to come to the wedding, not acknowledging the relationship, and I made a social media post that went viral, and that caught the attention of the world. The whole world said, I'll be there too, because the post was, if your biological mom won't come to your same-sex wedding, then you call me, I'll be there.
Wow.
And that post went viral.
That's awesome.
Thousands of people around the world said, I'll stand in too.
Wow.
And then they caught the attention of Jamie Lee Curtis. She acquired the rights to the book.
Really?
People started hearing about Free Mom Hugs.
Yeah.
They knew me as a stand-in mom.
Yeah.
And even before that, as an accidental activist. Because as I met the transgender community, and I realize I'm getting long-winded here, so if you want me to stop, I'll stop.
No, you're good. Yeah.
But I have to share with you because I'm accountable.
Mm-hmm.
But I went to a PFLAG meeting that I thought was for high schoolers, families like mine. And it turned out to be for the adult transgender community. And up until that day, Jordan, I had never been in the same room with a transgender person that I know of. And that day, I stayed because I knew the facilitator. I was curious. And I heard their stories.
Yeah.
And I left like I cried in my car.
Yeah.
Because I thought how different their lives could have been if they had the health care and the resources and the support.
Yeah.
And from that moment, that's when the backlash came. Up until then, not much of a problem, but then since then, my car's been vandalized, just emails, and I rarely talk about it because it pales in comparison what the community. But when I started advocating for the transgender community, that's where I really received pushback.
Really? Okay.
So people knew me as an accidental activist, and then a stand-in mom, and then they started hearing about Free Mom Hugs, and they said, well, I want to do that.
Yeah.
And so then moms just like me, with hearts just like mine, with gay kids just like mine, trans children, we started Free Mom Hugs in every state. And now we have chapters in every state, and regions are covered, and you have moms and dads and friends and allies showing up for Pride, just pouring into the community.
Yeah. Wow. That's beautiful.
It really is. It's fruit.
Yeah, definitely. what was it like getting reached out to? You said Jamie Lee Curtis. What was that like?
Well, I thought I was getting catfished at first.
Yeah,
She
yeah.
sent me a message and said,
Oh, her. It was actually her.
"Oh yeah,
Oh wow.
yeah."
Okay.
She sent me a direct message through social media and said, "I saw this post that's gone viral, and would you tell me more about it?"
Yeah.
And so we did, and then she found out about the book,
Mm.
and she acquired the rights.
Wow.
And then COVID bumped back production, but we have a contract, we have a script, we got a green light, we just need time.
Yeah. Wow.
And we also have a documentary out called The Mama Bear.
Yeah.
Mama Bears, I don't know if you've heard about that.
Amy told about
Yeah.
about it. Yeah, yeah.
There's a lot. Jordan, there's a lot that's happened in a very short amount of time.
Right. Yeah.
Because
yeah.
I do want to hear and how our organizations, we could collaborate, because in the nonprofit world, I don't know, I think you're maybe going in that direction, but it's not a competition.
Yeah.
That's what I was hoping to talk about today. It's not a competition.
Mm.
That people, lives, it's a matter of life and death.
Mm.
When you can, like you said, help people see their identity and their worth and purpose.
Yeah.
I like how you say identity and purpose.
Yeah.
I'm going to borrow that.
Go for it.
But it's not a competition. And what I would have done if there was something like you and Parker was going to school, because
Yeah.
he had a few allies there.
Yeah.
But I can imagine if you went to a school and allowed Parker to stand up and share his story,
Mm.
how powerful that would have been.
Mm.
Not only to, the kids that harassed him relentlessly. I remember one time Parker and I were walking in the grocery store, is Walmart,
Mm.
and we weren't quite to the entrance yet, but there's some people walking out, and we were walking in, and he goes, "Mom, let's go back to the car." And I didn't know if he was sick or something. I didn't know what was going on, but I could tell he was serious. So we went back to the car and said, "What's up?"
Mm.
And a bully was coming out of Walmart that had harassed him through his entire elementary and middle school
Wow.
days. And that's the first day I heard about it.
Wow.
And when he shared that with me, I thought, well, we can either go back into Walmart and face that fella, or we could go to Target. So at that time we went to Target, but I think that's something that I didn't even know about it.
Right.
He didn't share that with me throughout his life. You know what I mean? Why
Yeah.
didn't he share that with me?
Right.
Because I didn't allow him the space or ask the right questions or something.
Yeah. I
But-
think it's that shame that I think that you mentioned earlier. It's
Well, he was being teased because
Yeah.
he was gay, and
Yeah.
I didn't allow him to talk about being gay.
Right.
That's why. You're
Yeah.
right.
wow. Yeah. I mean, I could not imagine how impactful that would definitely be if somebody was able to be up on stage, you know what I'm saying, and be able to tell their story. And so, because that's the biggest thing too. Like whenever we talk about anti-bullying, it's a lack of respect, for one another. And that's what we usually talk about whenever we talk about bullying. We're like, let's break it down to just one word. It's disrespect, right? Whether it's disrespecting how a person lives, looks, or, I was trying to think of another L word, but it didn't come to me. But, it being able to, just break it down in basics or practical ways for these students to be, because they see disrespect all the time, whether it's on social media, at home, or at school, and they just get normalized to being disrespectful, and sometimes they'll just slip without people even thinking about it, so they don't know who they're hurting, really. And so being able to spread awareness and be advocates for let's just respect one another. That's the first level of getting our way to understanding, which is love.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's one of the biggest things that we try to advocate to whenever we're specifically talking on anti-bullying. And so I think I don't know, now you got my wheels turning on our organizations doing something. So but yeah, I love what y'all are doing. And so
I love what you're doing.
Thank you.
What you're doing.
Mutual, yes. So even with somebody, let's say you looking from the outside on an organization like this, what's something that we can even implement for the whole world that you're involved with, you know?
Well, I think what you mentioned it is just respect, and I think even maybe even more than that is education. Because through Free Mom Hugs, and I think you'll agree, we've seen the power of fear and ignorance. I lived that.
Yeah.
And we've seen the power of love and education. And so if you can equip people with an understanding of that people are just different, and if you're surrounded by people who look like you do, like, I'm getting off topic here, but that's what I love about your group. I mean, I spent some time on your social media pages, on your website. I saw diversity. And I love that. If you, I'm being transparent here. If you look through Free Mom Hugs, there's not a whole lot of diversity. A lot of people look like me. And there's two reasons. One, because most of the issues, I believe, within the community is brought on through the evangelical, conservative, mainstream church. And I'm not throwing the church under the bus. I love church life.
Right.
I am a woman of faith. And it's different for families of color. And we're working real hard on that.
Yeah, definitely.
We're working real hard on that. But what I love is that stories matter. Stories change lives.
Yeah, for sure. Now you got me on a whole nother thought.
Sorry,
like, why do you think that? Why do you think that might be, you know, more direct? Because I'm guessing you're like mentioning like white, you know, Caucasian America, you know,
Everyone
and
looks
so,
like me,
so why would I guess I wonder what that is. Like why that is, you know what I'm saying? Like if it's more, I guess, hated on in that realm, and
you mean like why the issues that we have within the community and the church,
right, and why predominantly it's more in like the, you know, the white community.
Well, because, excuse me,
You're good.
what I have learned throughout my own faith journey. And through getting educated on the history of human sexuality and even from scholars and theologians on what Scripture says.
Yeah.
The mainstream evangelical church teaches, and so families like mine that look like me, we absorb this idea that homosexuality is wrong.
Okay.
And unless you're inside the church, and the ripple effect of that I believe absolutely with everything in me that is why we have the issues that we do.
Yeah. Okay.
Is brought up by just ignorance. And I use that term respectfully.
Respectfully,
and
yes, that's good.
Well, I lived it. I have to remember where I came from. And there's a mom out there like me then who needs to hear from a mom like me now.
Yeah.
And so unless we can educate within the church, let me be real here. I used to think that Free Mom Hugs, our goal was to bridge the gap between the church and the gay community. That was my goal when I first set out.
Yeah.
I couldn't get people from the church to the table. I couldn't.
Like they wouldn't even show up. Yeah.
Not unless they had gay kids or someone they love coming up to them.
Right.
So once we poured all our focus into the community and their parents, that's when we became fruitful. And you church folks will recognize that talk.
Yeah.
That's when it became fruitful, healing, lasting, empowering, nurturing, and all the things that we believe in from a loving God, from love.
Yeah.
And
Definitely.
anything else is shame or condemnation, even with the very best of intentions. So we must educate. So now I believe that until every household is affirming, will we see the change in the world around us.
Yeah, definitely.
Because the church is dying out. Because people, younger generations are getting educated younger.
Yeah.
And the traditional mainstream evangelical church is phasing out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you were like in front of somebody that was going through that, whether they're a mom that is just finding out, or that doesn't know and may have seen signs and maybe overlooking them right now, what's some things that you would say to them right now?
2 things. Your child is sharing the most tender, intimate parts of their lives with you, whether they're 7 or 77. Your child is sharing the most tender, intimate parts of who they are with you.
Yeah.
Believe them. And the second thing is, learn how to celebrate your child, or you're going to suffer with them.
It's deep. I love that.
Word.
Word. See, you got some sauce in you. Yes, I love
I
it.
just learned, but I need to be approachable still. I'm not trying to alienate the church because I love the church.
Right. This is open. So we're here.
I love the church.
Yeah.
And I don't ever want to. We did a lot of amazing things within the church. But we got to do better, because right now it's a dangerous place.
Yeah.
Because what happens is the younger generation who are raised in the church, and when I say the church, I mean the mainstream evangelical, like Life Church, Victory Church. I don't know where y'all go, but it's the mega churches. They're doing an amazing thing. Let's not throw the baby out with the bathwater.
Right.
But we cannot continue in this vein, because what happens is people are raising their children. And as their children grow and on that journey of self-discovery, they come out. And then they can't understand why they can't go to youth camp, or why they're called into the office to have, the elders pray over them, or told to come down to confession, and then alienated. It's devastating.
Yeah, definitely.
Devastating. And I think that's where the change will come. But it may be too late. I don't know.
Yeah. Even right now with your journey of Free Mom Hugs, what's your next move?
My next move.
Yeah.
That's a good question.
Yeah.
I think professionally for Free Mom Hugs, I'd like to have a summit or a conference where we can make it open to the community, to everyone.
Yeah.
Have it open, and have like breakout sessions to help moms of faith.
Yeah.
To have a conference, but to have it here in Oklahoma. A lot of people are surprised that
That'd
Free
be
Mom Hugs
huge.
started in Oklahoma.
I was shocked. I didn't even know that was from here. So yeah, I heard about the organization, but I did not know Sara Cunningham is from Oklahoma. Yeah. That's beautiful.
But I do hope that someday we won't need organizations like ours. That everybody, I think maybe the rapture is just when everybody gets it. They just love. Ooh. And some people are forced into this position. Like people say, would you change anything? Yeah, I missed an entire adolescence of my kid. I could have lost him by death, suicide, hate crime, still. But all that to say, I'm going to have a conference, and you know what I do? I hope for Free Mom Hugs that we would have scholarships to be in a position where we can offer safe housing.
Yeah. We
can offer health care to our transgender family and friends, and really advocate against laws that affect our families. And we're working with the Human Rights Campaign, but to a greater degree.
Yeah. Okay. We're here for it. Let's go.
Yeah.
Let's go. That's awesome. Well, I know that we've been going for a while, so I love this. This is a good conversation. And so, How We Sleep at Night. Can they get this anywhere, or is
this? The book is titled How We Sleep at Night: A Mother's Memoir.
Yeah. And
you should know that I'm not a scholar or a theologian. A lot of my the journey is from the church to the Pride Parade is written here, and it's just how we got through it.
Yeah.
And I don't hold anything back.
Yeah.
There's a couple of cuss words in there too.
There you go.
But Free Mom Hugs is not mentioned because it just wasn't on my radar then.
Yeah.
But there is a movie coming out. It's called How We Sleep at Night: The Sara Cunningham Story.
Wow.
Starring Jamie Lee Curtis. and it's in the works.
That's amazing.
And we have the Mama Bear documentary. But yes, this book is on Amazon. I'd rather send you a signed copy, so if you want to direct message me or something.
Be sure to go get it everywhere.
Oh, you got this on film.
Oh yeah.
Goodness.
Oh yeah. This is
Oh my goodness.
video
I wonder what
and
you were doing
audio.
over there.
Oh yeah. Taylor's the man.
I
So
thought Taylor was watching soccer over there.
no. He's working. He's always working. But
Thank you guys for what you do, and
of course, yeah.
I'd love to share you as a resource either on our Oklahoma Free Mom Hugs page.
Yeah.
We're setting up our websites where
And we travel all over, so yeah.
Are you in Oklahoma? You started in Oklahoma, but are you going to have different chapters around?
That's our next
your goal?
move. Hey, listen, Sarah, we
Sarah.
right,
Jordan.
Jordan. My goal, I would love to have a Generation Y or a Y station in every state, and then have teams that do what we do. Not that I don't like traveling, but it's a lot of gas, and so but we would love to be able to train up leaders and build groups like that with sense of purpose.
We got to get
And
you
so-
to. Now I know you travel, but the rural area, they need you.
Yeah.
They need you.
Oh, for sure. They love anytime that we go to nowhere, Oklahoma, they love every. That's the amazing and beautiful thing too about whenever we do our shows. It's so universal that this message of purpose goes anywhere from rural Oklahoma to urban Oklahoma to suburban. You know what I'm saying? And so what we're doing is trying to shed light on you matter at the end of the day, and it doesn't matter about what talents you have. Those are a bonus, but you just showing up to the table makes all the difference. You're not here just taking up space. You matter. Like every bit of being you are, you matter. And
I love that.
Yeah.
Well,
Thank you.
I wish you much success, and next time you do something in
Same.
Oklahoma, let me know.
Yes.
And I'd like to, glean from it. We
Yeah.
can just go and see you in action, and
Yeah.
But I wish you the very best of luck, and
Same. Yes.
just can't have enough of what you do. So
Yeah.
thank you.
And even whenever you were talking about, there's organizations like us, you're hoping that there won't be, later on down the world. But I'm thinking like the more that there are, and there's a lot of organizations like, ours and stuff that are out there that it's like, you see the sense of need because there is a need, and there's organizations out here that are doing stuff because there's always going to be a need. As long as there's hate in the world, there's got to be people out here that strive to fight against it. And so that's why there's people like us out here. So high five to us. Yes.
High five.
Yes. Well, we are striving and rooting for you and everything that you're doing in your amazing organization. And so we're going to put these stickers on everything that we got. So we appreciate you.
I know where to get more. So,
There you go. Yes. Be sure to follow her on anything and everything, Sara Cunningham. Do you want to look into this camera and tell them where they can follow you, where they can get your book, and then also maybe one last motivational quote or something like that that you live by? So.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah.
I would like to say that you can follow Free Mom Hugs. First of all, you can go to freemomhugs.org. You can find your state chapter and get plugged in. Find the Free Mom Hugs chapter where you are. If you like that page on social media, that'll keep you in the loop of everything happening locally, and you just show up and be that loving presence. And I would say if you can pray for us. If you can show up. And if you can give. And if not Free Mom Hugs, then Generation Y, to organizations who are doing the work, because there's a season for you to pray, show up, or give money. So just love people. Pretend they got a sticky note on their forehead that says, love me.
Yes. Awesome. And don't forget to hug. Yes.
Yeah. Consent.
Right. Of course. Well, we thank you so much, Sara, and we love everything that you're doing. And so, thank you so much once again. Do not forget to like, rate, review, subscribe so we can get these stories out more effectively. So thank you so much. We'll see you next time.